everyone listening has something going on, and there's well-being when things are going right, and then there's well-being when life throws you a curveball, and sometimes those can feel really, really different. Welcome to Oxygen for Educators. I'm one of your hosts, Michelle Kinder, and you'll meet Chris Kent Phelps in just a bit. It's our hope to bring you thought-provoking, unscripted conversations full of actionable ideas to fuel your important work in the world. Thanks for tuning in. This space is for you. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Michelle. It's been a while.
It's been a hot minute. It's really good to see you.
Same.
You look great.
Thank you. As do you.
This is a little bit of a different episode. We don't have an interview to share with our listeners. We wanted to instead spend just a few minutes updating them on some health stuff that will contextualize why we've been re-releasing episodes and taking a little bit of a break. And chapter 2 of the conversation, we're hoping to maybe give listeners a fly on the wall experience of us talking about those health issues and what we're experiencing, what we're learning, not so specific to us and our, navel gazing, so to speak, but because we know everyone listening has something going on, and there's well-being when things are going right. And then there's well-being when life throws you a curveball, and sometimes those can feel really, really different. And so we thought it might be helpful or interesting or of some value to someone for us to kind of be transparent about what it's been like for us. And then chapter 3 of our conversation is we're bursting out of our seams to share with the listeners what's coming in 2026. So that'll be a teaser. We'll start with the health updates and then share a little bit about what we're learning, well-being in the context of a little bit of a earthquake. And then we'll close out our time with some fun news.
Love it.
Do you want to start, since you've let folks in a little bit on what you've been going through, but it's been a while, so.
Sure. I don't even remember how long it's been since we talked about this or shared, but as I mentioned many podcasts ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer end of August, just after taking my daughter to school, and thought that I was going to have a fairly easy road. It was early and I was excited about that, and thought that it was going to be about a 3 or 4 month process, and it's actually looking like it's going to be closer to a 12 to 14 month process, which feels a whole lot longer. It feels like a marathon instead of a sprint, and so there's some getting used to that I've been doing, and we can kind of talk about some of the takeaways there. But with that, since my news was sort of already out into the universe, do you want to share what's been going on with you?
Sure. Yes. And a completely bizarre, no movie producer would accept this plot line turn of events. About 2.5 months after Chris's diagnosis, I was also diagnosed with early stage breast cancer in November and had surgery in December. My circumstances are not just less time, but also less complex. So probably looking at my final surgery in March, and both of us have very good prognosis, and we're kind of in the let's do all the things you can possibly do to make sure it doesn't come back phase. But weirdly, we've been, I don't even know, what's that thing they call blood sisters? Does this make us like cancer sisters? Like what? I don't know if there's a term for this insane situation, but I will say, for all the shock and complexity and grief and, just all the things, having you as my Sherpa about 2.5 months ahead and kind of sharing everything you've already learned and just going through it together has been such a gift.
For sure. A story just came into my brain, so I feel like I have to share it. I don't know why, but my surgeries, I had a lot of complications with healing. So what was supposed to be one surgery turned into two surgeries, turned into three surgeries. So it was really the whole fourth quarter of the year. But I think you were diagnosed, and the next day I was having a surgery, and I was literally laying in the bay, and I heard my surgeon's voice, who was not supposed to be there that day, on the other side of the curtain, and I screamed for her, and she popped her head in to check on me, and I just said, "My friend has cancer too. She's going to need to see you. She's coming with me to my appointment tomorrow." And I think that's where it all started, where we started kind of sharing doctors and literally walking through this together. So it's certainly been a very strange gift to have someone walking through the same thing. And I was thinking about that, just, you don't ever want to be the person that's talking about it too much. Or so I'm really careful when I talk to a friend or a family member, like, you don't want that to be all that you're talking about, but you and I can sit on the phone for hours and talk about it because we're in the same trench.
Yes.
And so that's not lost on me. I wish you didn't have to go through it too, but it's been a gift to have you with me.
Yeah, and that's such a good segue because I feel like that is a very transferable experience that we've had, both the how different it feels going through this with company, the how challenging it is to figure out who wants to hear what and how much and when, and I feel like no matter what people are dealing with, that's a tricky one.
Yeah, especially into your opening point about well-being when things are going well versus well-being when things are not going well. It's hard to be the person that has the heavy topic in the room and to walk that fine line of, because you want to get invited back to the room, but you need to talk about what you're going through. And I don't want to always be the wet blanket. So there's a dance around that.
Yeah.
There's a dance around that. And I would think that listeners feel that way sometimes too, because their work is hard. Like, there's a lot of hard just around education as a whole, especially right now. And it would be easy to talk about that. So my hope for everybody is that they have somebody that's in that trench that they can talk to, and they don't have to worry about how long they talk about the topic.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And as you said that, it made me think how many people in the room are feeling like they might be the burden if they talk about the real that's going on in their life. And then how many people in the room are so doubled over with boredom of small talk and desperate for real conversation about what's actually happening in each other's lives. And yeah, I feel like that whole social dance, it could be that everyone's starving in a different way. And if we could just kind of crack that ice, and I don't mean break the ice, but I mean like crack that veneer or whatever, and actually like meet each other and meet ourselves in a more authentic and vulnerable, and I don't know what way. This feels so messy to even talk about, but that came up when you said that.
It's interesting at MEA,
which is Modern
Elder Academy. So I've spoken before that I went to a MEA retreat last August, right after I got diagnosed. And Chip Conley, the founder, has an exercise where he talks about you can speak from the first vault, which is the facts and figures, the second vault, which is kind of your more what you've got going on in life, or the third vault. And at MEA, there's a rule that we only speak from the third vault. So you really never talk about like what you do for a living or where you're from. You're only talking about really deep things. And I have found, because I'm typically a positive person, I have found that in our group calls, which we have every month, everybody's tracking with my health situation. And if I talk about lessons I'm learning or that's really not what people want to hear about. They really want to know, like, how am I doing? And so when I actually share that, you know, chemotherapy is hard or, things like that, I'll always get notes from my friends saying, thank you for being honest. Like they really appreciate that. And that's been something I've learned through this, is to actually voice and speak what you're feeling instead of just the positive things. Which is there's a lot of freedom in that too. And I dig freedom. So
you dig freedom, and I've watched in you, I've watched it in me, and I imagine it in so many people who might be listening, that release of the pressure valve when you can speak from that third vault. And whatever stories we tell ourselves about the worst thing that will happen if somebody knows the truthiest truth about us doesn't happen. And then, oh, okay, I can be in the world in this more true way. And whatever fears I have from early experiences or whatever don't materialize. It's like, your word freedom is really good.
That brings up for me a comment that my daughter Emma made when you interviewed her for a podcast, one of our original podcasts. Yes. She made the comment that sometimes people think she's too much, and she's finally realized that she might be too much for that person, but that doesn't make her too much. And I think that's kind of the same thing about when you need to share something hard. Like, somebody's going to receive that, and somebody's going to appreciate that third vault discussion that might be a little bit darker or harder and not so rosy. Not everyone, but that's okay too.
That's okay too. Yeah.
It's just where you are.
Yeah.
And being truthful about where you are, which takes courage.
Yeah. You know what I'm just thinking about? You don't have a high tolerance for letting whoever you're talking to stay in the first or second vault. Like, you ask questions that give people permission to go to the third vault. And seeing you now also give yourself permission and not attach stories to what that means, that it's a crappy day or you're having a hard time or whatever it is, that it just is. It doesn't mean anything other than that, is so lovely, because you effortlessly offer that to anyone you're in conversation with. Like, you're famous for that. You ask curious, deep questions all day long, every day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, in the spirit of chapter 2, for this conversation of really like sharing with folks like what we're noticing, what we're learning, what we're paying attention to that might be familiar or applicable to whatever they're carrying, what else would you say comes up for you?
I was thinking about that question in advance of this conversation. I think the biggest thing for me is, and I've made it a philosophy, like I've told my kids this my whole life. I've told myself this when I look in the mirror: if you don't like your situation, you fix it. Like, I don't have a high tolerance for complaining. You just fix it. And I am currently in a situation I cannot fix. Mm-hmm. And typically if I can't fix the situation, I can fix my mindset, at least to find a lesson in it or find a silver lining in it. And I think in this case, when it became, this wasn't a 3-month process, this is a much longer process, there was no way I could change that. Mm-hmm. And just sitting with that and accepting that, like going to the place of acceptance, that was a really hard jump for me. That was probably the hardest. Mm-hmm. Getting my brain refocused around, this is what it looks like. But I think once I did move from kind of denial to acceptance of the circumstance, there was freedom in that. Mm. And it's just looking at it differently, but not in the way that I used to, where I would just frame it more positively or frame a lesson around it. Like, it just is. And that seems to me, if I were an educator who my why was because I cared about the kids and I wanted to show up for the kids, but circumstances are what they are, where I feel like I don't do all the things I need to do in a day. I have that constant stress around me. Sorry, I hit the microphone. That's a hard place to be in. And there's probably not a quick fix. I mean, I think we're all trying to do things like this podcast to help change it, but that's going to take a lot of time to make, to get to that next step. And so I just offer that up, that I think once acceptance is critical, not quitting and just staying in it and looking for the small, beautiful things. Like, I think that's what I've shifted. I was always chasing an outcome or chasing, probably that's the best way to say it, chasing an outcome. And I don't feel like I'm chasing anything anymore. I'm just looking at, life consists of a series of beautiful moments and connections all added together. And those make for a wonderful day in itself. And so if that's helpful to anyone, that's probably the biggest takeaway for me.
It's so relatable what you're sharing, like that notion of something that is so baked into your worldview or the view of yourself or the view of what success looks like, that having to kind of like crack open before you can access a deeper understanding, a deeper freedom, a deeper connection, whatever it is. I just feel like we cycle through that year over year over year if we allow for it.
What's coming up for you?
Well, one of the biggest things that I noticed over the last few months, especially in some of the times where whatever I was carrying felt like so paralyzingly heavy, it made me so aware that everyone I'm passing on the street is probably in similar or same or will be next week, or, it just made me so hypersensitive to the fact that everyone we're passing all day long is carrying something that, and I know there's so many like sayings about that, but like it moved into my body. Like, it made me just pay attention to, what assumptions have I made about the ease of other people's loads, all day long, every day, just walking around. And what is it like to look at them with kind of like sacred compassion around what might be on their plates and what might be hijacking their nervous systems, and how close to that line they might feel of like, I cannot handle one more thing. And then I find myself like in a different relationship with compassion. Like, okay, I can't know, so I have to assume people maybe are dealing with that same level of like overwhelm or whatever. And then what does my energy exchange look like that either makes that worse or makes it better? And that feels so meaningful to me. Like I could go all day long and not check a single like big, huge thing off the to-do list, but have a series of moments where I hope I maybe interacted in a way that lightened the load of another person. Kind of like that level of showing up in the world and contributing and making a difference feels just right for me after having gone through these months. I'm much more obsessed with that.
That's a good thing to be obsessed with.
Stuff. Yeah, the big stuff just it just doesn't ring as much to me as just those like quiet moments of an energy exchange between people you love and care about deeply, or between you and a stranger, over and over and over again all day long. And that feels like, okay, I'm here for that. I could be here for that.
Well, I would like to just say that I'm really glad you feel that way because it's working out well for me with all the soups and the baked goods that you're bringing me. So let's just keep that up, sister.
Yes, count on it. It's mutually beneficial. Well, and you think about educators, oh my gosh, like the number of energy exchanges that they have every day with coworkers and with kids that literally shifts trajectories. Like, I don't know, like they're kind of in the most powerful spot to kind of ping off of something you sent me earlier to make the big differences and also make the little differences every day that feel really big to that kid or that coworker.
I love that. I love that. Also, we would be remiss not to just really highlight it word for word, but the importance of not going it alone. That's what, for me, out of this whole experience, even you know this, but for listeners, and I think of myself as kind of superhuman, having a superhuman strength, whether I do or not. But I'm used to doing things solo, and at the very beginning, people were offering to go to appointments, you included, and in my head, I thought, well, why would I take someone? Like, why? I'm going to do all this on my own. What? And two of my friends, you and Karen, were not taking no for an answer and just experiencing the difference of, yes, I could go to these appointments alone, but why? When your friend wants to come with you, like it's just a complete different experience. And I'll just never go back the other way. So I hope that resonates with educators, to realize there are many people around you that love you and want to support you, and saying yes to that matters.
Saying yes to that. And how many of us, for whatever early experiences reason, find ourselves now like pathologically independent? I count you in that group. I definitely count myself in that group. And for sure, this experience has turned that on its head. It's like, I was kind of playing with that notion of like resilience as compared to self-constraint. And I feel like both you and I still, but for sure before all this experience or these few months, we were experts in self-constraint. Like we had our lives together. Do you know
I wish
what I
that
mean?
people listening could see your face.
You know what I mean, though? It's like, I've got this.
I
like,
just try not to do that
buttoned up
face
and-
when I do it, but
Yeah, don't do that face. But,
yes,
it's
I know what you
visceral.
mean.
And that you can convince yourself that is resilience. And you are doing it. And no matter what the people around you do or don't do, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a burden we don't have to carry. Like we don't have to walk through the world assuming that equals resilience. We can walk through the world thinking that our capacity to be in community and to open ourselves up to having needs that we can't meet ourselves, like that is resilience.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's still like nothing feels clear to me. And I think permission for nothing to be clear yet and for us to just be integrating is part of it. It's one of the things I'm thinking about.
I like that. I'm glad you shared it.
Yeah. Any other on your list before we get to our fun news?
The only other thing that I would say is I think that a lot of the beliefs I had were more words than truth,
Ooh.
such as like the understanding that family comes first or self-care matters, well-being matters. But truthfully, at the end of the day, I would put work because I felt like that was earning money to care for my kids. Like that provider is the first thing I have to do. So I would let anything else fall to the bottom. And just as we were talking about yesterday, the two most important strategies for both of us to keep this from coming back is exercise and nutrition. So those can no longer just be the afterthought. Like that has to be the first thing that you check off in the morning. And that's a huge lifestyle change for me personally. But it's caused me to really think about which things were just words or things that I know that are floating around outside of me versus what I've really adopted. And so I think that's something. And then also just kind of letting go of expectation. Like I've always said, I didn't have expectation, but you saw me when I got a different, treatment plan than what I had expected. I turned into a petulant teenager and pitched a fit until I could get to the acceptance part.
Really did. And it was so adorable and hilarious and also very sad. Like when life comes for you, the metamorphosis process is not easy or smooth. Like it's painful.
And I have a sticky note on the front of my front door or on the back of my front door that I look at every day to remind myself, always keep your gratitude higher than your expectations. Which, by the way, my dad always told me was his line, and I later found out it's a Ray Wiley Hubbard song that he's just been recycling. And I even have it quoted by my dad on the sticky note. But anyway, I digress. But that wasn't really true because I still had so many expectations around, what the path was going to be. So that was another of, I think those were words, not truth. And this is offering an opportunity to make those things truth.
Yeah. It's like the difference between intellectual and embodied.
And as we know, I live in my head instead of my body.
Yeah, but
which is how I got into this mess in the first place.
You've got some boxes. You're moving in. It's
trying. It's a process. It's a process. I'll let you know where I am this time next year.
Yeah. Fair.
Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on?
The only other one I might throw in, because I think this is probably very, very true for educators, and I don't think I really got it. I'm starting to get it more, is this idea that capacity is seasonal and situational and not like moral. Because I think there was a part of me that was like, set the bar, I'll pass it. Need this done, I'll exceed, blah, 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 just this notion of I can, white knuckle my way into whatever is expected, period, end of sentence. This has made it so clear to me that that was not an option. And also it didn't matter to me. Like I just knew these are the things I have to focus on. Everything else has to fall away and it'll come back. And that's a season, it's a season, and it's related to a situation, and it has nothing to do with my character or morality or any of the things that capacity gets linked to in our culture. That's been another one I'm kind of grappling with.
I thought you did it beautifully.
You mean before?
I would say post-surgery, just watching how you handled from that point in time on. And I guess when you shine the light on me versus you in those situations, which is not ever super healthy, but, had I approached surgery 1 the way that you did, maybe I wouldn't have had surgery 2 and maybe I wouldn't have had surgery 3, but I was still powering through it all.
You were
I mean, I was, back at it, just going, thinking I was really tough. Yeah. And that didn't work out well for me.
Yeah. I mean, good point. It was that overlay of the mental model of this equals good character, good morality, good provider, good,
Yeah.
strength, the badass that you are.
The universe had a different plan for me. But I think about for
It's
listeners,
like whack-a-mole.
I know,
The universe is like, pew,
I know.
crisp.
For listeners who have not heard the podcast interview with Sharon Bradley, that it's an interesting one. But she also had was diagnosed with breast cancer, I think 8 years ago. It's been a while. But we interviewed her right around diagnosis time for me. And I remember her.
Wait. It wasn't just right around.
It was the
Katie
day
and I
of.
figured it was the time. Like we were learning from Sharon about her breast cancer experience while you were getting your confirmation of diagnosis.
And then 2 months later, it was your turn. It's crazy.
It's so crazy.
But Sharon made the comment, I remember, because it's kind of tattooed, that she doesn't know if she would have, I think you asked the question, was there anything else that could have gotten her to stop and start prioritizing her well-being? And she said no. And I think that was the same for me. Like, even the diagnosis didn't do it for me. I thought, well, okay, it's early stage, no big deal. I can handle surgery, move on. And that wasn't the case. And I know, I don't feel it right this minute, truthfully, but I know on the other side of this that I'll be glad that it wasn't that easy for me to get out of the hot seat, because I can feel myself changing and growing. And there's a line I heard on a podcast the other day: growth and comfort can't ride the same horse. And I would choose growth over comfort any day. So yeah, I'm on that horse right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are my deep thoughts of the day.
Yeah. It's like you can't project manage cancer.
You can't. And
And
a great way to
that's
say
true of so many things in the lives of the people who are listening, both professionally as educators. There's so much out of their control right now with the way the winds are blowing. And then just, statistically, everyone who's listening, they're dealing with health issues too, or, caring for children with high needs or aging parents, challenging spouse relationships, whatever it is, everyone's dealing with something. And it's a good question. Like, is this something you can kind of project manage, white knuckle through, or is there a door you're not seeing that's more about surrendering and releasing and reframing and
acceptance, yeah.
accepting?
All right, chapter 3.
Chapter
dun,
3.
Dun, dun.
Tell folks what's coming in 2026 for Oxygen for Educators.
So we are so excited that our magazine will be coming out this quarter. So it should hit mailboxes, I want to say the week of March 23rd. And it's gorgeous, and we're so proud of it. We have the best publishing partners there are in D Magazine's custom publishing division. And do
you want to give any teasers?
So excited.
So people kind of know what's coming, and also how to get on the list to get one.
So we're recapping the strategies and pieces of advice that came out of the podcast, the first year of the podcast. And the thinking is, you can listen to this when you're on the move, but to really let the learning soak in, it's helpful to go back and look at it. So we are launching with 2 issues in 2026, one this spring, one in the fall, that'll recap stories and strategies from the podcast. There'll be some new content, an example of a story we did a full interview with Alex Vesely, Viktor Frankl's grandson, who was on the podcast earlier this year. So we dove a little deeper there. A few other guests, we dove deeper with them. But yes, it's almost like a book of learnings from the first year of the podcast. And then we'll hopefully in 2027 move into a quarterly publication. And we should say a huge thank you to Charles Schwab Bank Atmos Energy and Tachybox for making that happen for us too. And for anyone listening, you can, thanks to our sponsors, educators receive complimentary issues of the magazine. So if you go to our website, which will be live in the next week, oxygenforeducators.com, you can sign up to put your name on the list to receive the publication if you're not already on it.
And Katie will put something in the notes to make it real easy for folks to get their names on that list. And then you'll get the first issue. There'll be another issue coming out in the fall. And then hopefully we can keep it rolling. And we need your help to keep it rolling. We need you to request a subscription at no cost to you. We need you to subscribe to the podcast, share with your friends. Let's really build this community up. That'll allow us to keep the pedal. What is it?
Pedal to the metal.
Yes.
And then we should also add the third component of our plan is to launch an event series. So we'll start with a small reception when the magazine comes out, but ideally have a larger event presence in the fall.
Beautiful. And we've got an amazing interview coming next week for folks with Lindsay Wharton. She was so inspiring. The Radical Hope series will relaunch for part 2 the following week, and then we'll just keep that going as well.
Love it.
Yay. Anything else?
I don't think so. Thank you for being comfortable to share your side of the story with everyone.
Yeah.
And I hope that felt relevant to listeners.
Yeah, they'll tell us.
If you don't feel it's relative, send a message to Michelle at oxygenforeducators.com. If you loved it, please send a message to Chris, CHRS, at oxygenforeducators.com.
That's just wrong. But fair, I get it. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. And we really appreciate this community that's growing and building. Please like, subscribe, share. You are the ticket to us helping really get these interviews, this content in the hands of people who will use it and care about it and sign up for your free magazine.
Thanks.
See you next time. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Oxygen for Educators. Please like, share, and follow, and if inclined, leave us a 5-star review so that we can keep making content for you. Let us hear from you if you know someone we should interview or a topic we should cover.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the guest and host and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any organization. The content is provided for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended as professional advice. Listeners are encouraged to use their own judgment and seek appropriate professional support when needed. Oxygen for Educators, its host, and production partners are not responsible for any actions taken based on the information shared in this podcast.